Hello, friends, and I'm going to welcome you to this week's Goal Friday. For folks watching the replay, it is November 8th, 2024. So I am a little bit more subdued than my usual cheery self. It's been a rough week here for a lot of my clients and my people, and frankly, myself. So uh, I didn't want to cancel though. I wanted to keep us going even though I'm not at 100% today. So today's Goal Friday is a little less formal than they usually are. I also might keep it kind of short and sweet today, but we are going to talk about one of the questions that I am asked most often everywhere I go, every consult I have, every prospect call I have. Almost every time someone asks the question, all right, now what we really want to do is localize OKRs down to the individual. How do we do that? We'll talk about my kind of spicy answer in a minute. But first, hi all. I'm Sarah Lobkovich. I work with purpose-focused organizations and leaders, folks who are driven to create positive systemic change. And I help them create strategic planning and goal-setting practices that work for their real world, including continuous learning, non-toxic approaches to goal setting, and facilitating behavior change so that we can actually achieve the incredible goals that we set for ourselves. So if you're new, it's great to meet you. This is week 7 of this 8-week Goal Fridays series. So if everything goes to plan, we'll talk about today's topic today. Then next week we'll have one or more scenarios where I'm working with actual volunteer clients to help them develop their OKRs. So if you are interested in being a volunteer client, I make it super painless. It's really fun. I know lives can seem a little intimidating at first, but they are really fun. And folks here are really super supportive. So if you might be interested in volunteering for a little bit of free OKR coaching, then I would be absolutely delighted to have your company on here next week. All right. Our topic for today, I started at the top with the question I'm always asked. How do we cascade OKRs down to the individual? A lot of organizational clients, that is their goal with OKRs. They're implementing OKRs because they want to increase individual accountability and ownership and responsibility. A lot of those same clients or a lot of those same organizations also want to use OKRs as part of their performance management system. So their performance evaluation and incentive pay calculations. So those two questions almost always, not always, but almost always come together. And I have a one-word answer. I guess it's actually 2 words, 3 if you count a contraction as 2 words. But my very simple answer is don't. We don't. We don't do that. Now, that's spicy. I will disclaim right off the bat, we might have other OKR experts and practitioners watching or listening who might have a different opinion or a different perspective on this than I do. But based on working with the clients I do that are high change, transformation focused, innovation focused, they are implementing OKRs because they actually need to change things non-incrementally. So we're talking big leaps, big systemic change, large growth, or human impacts that can't wait to improve. I do a lot of work in education, healthcare, high-risk industries. So places where when we set our goals, it's important to human lives that we do our best to learn how to achieve them. We might not achieve them right away, but we have to do our best to learn how to achieve them. And so in that type of environment, There are a few issues with trying to cascade OKRs down to individuals. And I realize I didn't do like an intro, a 101 welcome. Um, so I'll step back just a sec and do that. When I talk about OKRs, in case you are new here, OKRs stands for objectives and key results. It's a goal setting practice that helps us focus, get clear, and align on our shared responsibilities within an organization. And then lots of people use them solo also. So they aren't only used within organizations, but the context we're talking about today, we're talking about in the context of organizations. And one of the reasons OKRs became so popular in large organizations is because they provide a way to connect our strategy to our implementation and execution or delivery plans. So they answer important questions about what's most important to achieve, why does it matter, and how will we know when we're actually making progress in terms of verifiable or empirical data-based impact. So the other important thing, and cascading, it's right in the title. The other important thing about OKRs is they give us a mechanism for communicating and translating. I love the term that one of the large OKR platforms in this space uses. Hi, friends at Workboard. Workboard uses the term localization, not cascading. So a lot of other resources call it cascading or connecting. I personally like the term localization because what this allows us to do is once we've got our OKRs at the company level, anyone in the organization can translate those into their domain. So teams can look at the company OKRs and translate them into their domain, or the upline OKRs and translate them into their domain. Individuals can look at upline OKRs and translate them into individual goals. That's the concept of cascading that we're talking about here, or localization. The difference between the two, cascading is an idea that is usually interpreted in kind of one of two ways. So cascading is often thought of as we're going to take a company level objective and then it has nested key results. And then sub-teams are going to look up at those nested key results and they're going to adopt whichever ones they contribute to as their objectives. And then they're going to set their key results. And then the next level down does the same thing, and so on. In the practice approach that I use, that doesn't work because we work with a very specific definition for objective and key result. And if we take a key result and put it in the spot of an objective, then we're breaking our system of language that is our meaning for our shared implementation of OKRs. So we don't take that approach. If at any time it is necessary for a key result to be localized to a team as their objective, we can do so by taking that key result, increase, decrease, or improve a metric by a percent from A to B. And we can, instead of including the numbers and leaving it written as a key result, we can ask the question, or we can form the objective with a broader lens. So instead of the specificity of the key result, we can tell ourselves our what clause of our objective, what's most important is that we improve that metric. And then we can ask ourselves the why question. Why does that matter? So that way we get a directional improvement instead of a really specific key result. And we get a why clause that gives us our shared purpose that makes a strong objective. So we often see key results roll down, but we wouldn't want to roll an objective into a key result without doing that translation to make it actually fit the definition of an objective. All right, I see the numbers dropping. I think I'm getting way too nerdy. So we'll rein it in and get back to basics. So I don't coach that approach of that strict, leveled localization. The other, or leveled cascading. The other issue we have there is very, very quickly, if you approach OKR cascading that way, you're going to wind up with just lists of tasks. So there are not many situations. There are some, but it's really common if we take that cascading approach of, we're going to take the upline key result and make it the subteam's objective, then what tends to happen, unless you do that translation I just talked about, is they're going to identify a bunch of tasks as their key results. And at that point, as soon as we've got that checklist of tasks called key result, we've lost the meaning of our language in the OKR implementation. We risk the integrity of the OKR implementation. And we also wind up with some of the big pitfalls of OKRs, which is too many, way too many. Because the minute someone starts writing a checklist of to-do items as key results, they're going to multiply like bunnies. They just don't stop. There's no way for people to know which tasks they need to put in the OKRs and which they don't. So that's why I adhere to very specific words and meanings. Objectives are directional statements. They tell us what's most important and why it matters. So they give us focus and clarity and a sense of our shared purpose. Key results are specifically measurable goals, specifically measurable, empirically verifiable, data-informed goals that are usually in the form of increase, decrease, or improve a metric or measure by a percent or points from a start value to a finish value. And it's really important we preserve and respect those words and meanings. All right, so now we've talked about cascading. We've talked about some of the challenges with cascading. I'm going to talk for just a minute about the issues with translating OKRs all the way down to individuals. If you were paying attention in that conversation we just had about the meaning of objectives and key results, you might be thinking, I can see why this doesn't translate down to individuals, but there are just a couple specific things. If we're going to try to translate a key result all the way down to an individual, you're going to wind up with ridiculous, hard to maintain, arbitrary targets for individuals. So let's say we have a key result at the company level to increase our CSAT, our customer satisfaction score, by 30%. And then that gets localized down to the folks on the customer support team. Well, does Sam contribute 2.5% to that improvement? And does Sally contribute 5%? Or when we add or subtract someone from the team, do we have to recalculate everyone's individual goals? That's just silly. It doesn't even make any sense. We can't attribute an improvement in a truly measurable group goal down to multiple individuals in most cases. There's some exceptions in sales, of course, but outside of sales, it's really rare. So that's one of the issues, is we just tend not to be able to actually attribute the key result to multiple individuals. There's just not a way to do it in most situations outside of sales. The other is that when we roll or translate OKRs down to the individual, we wind up with an incentivization problem. So the scenario I always use, or the description I like to share, is when we're creating our group goals, when we're creating our OKRs, those are goals we create together. They're shared responsibility. In those situations, we're using our meerkat brains. We are meerkats. We are thinking about the community. We are thinking about how we work together. We are thinking highly socially, that the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. Did I get that right? So we are thinking with our meerkat brains. And the minute we start talking about performance management or individual comp or incentive pay, we turn into tigers. We are solitary animals. We are wired to achieve what we must in order to maximize our personal benefit, to maximize our performance evaluation, or to maximize our incentive pay. And the issue there is that if people are thinking about their bonus or their performance evaluation, when we're asking them to create their group OKRs, they're going to create very conservative goals that they know they can exceed because they want that exceeds bonus. And that's not what we want people thinking about when they're creating group OKRs. We want people thinking when they're creating group OKRs about what might be possible to achieve if everything goes right. So, what are we inspired to try to achieve that we might not achieve right away, but it's so important we're going to fail at it until we learn how to achieve it and then be able to achieve it. So we can't be thinking with our tiger brains when we're creating group OKRs. We need to be thinking with our highly social, with our together brains, not about our individual bonuses. So those are the two big things. And then this brings us to, what do we do instead? I'm going to try. Oh, I forgot. I do have one other picture I was going to show you because it cracks me up. When I was preparing for today, I came across this, and every time I see it, it absolutely cracks me up. So let me get into my Miro here real quick and show you something. Let's do it this way. All right. Sorry, I didn't have this better prepared. Miro, there we go. Okay, so my Miro should be coming, let's see, yeah, I've got it there. All right, so this cracks me up because every time I see this, I think back to a time when I was determined to be able to completely visualize what localization looked like in practice. And this is a simple draft drawing. At one point, I had, like, no kidding, the guy with the string and the paper and I had one of those whiteboards trying to model and be able to show people with extreme clarity how localization can work. So, this shows we've got our company level OKRs aren't even shown. They've already been localized to product, customer, ops excellence, and financial and growth OKRs. They're getting further localized to our teams at level 3 of the organization. They're getting localized again to team OKRs below that, maybe with some key initiatives identified. And all the lines are showing we've got all this cross-functional responsibility and all these matrixed connections. And this was the simplest view of localization I could possibly draw. It's ridiculous. So I did this with clients for quite a while. I did once an OKR localization. I think we went as far as 4 or 5 organizational layers. And it was such a deep organization that wasn't even to the individuals yet. What I found in those really deep, very complex kind of multi-layer localization exercises is, number one, they take a ton of time. You have to finish one layer in order to start the next. So if you're doing multiple layers, you're adding at least a week usually for each layer of localization. If you go 5 or 6 layers deep, you've burned up a ton of your working time that quarter. So that's one of the issues, is it just takes a ton of time. And then the other issue is the one that we talked about in the beginning, that the key results tend to lose integrity the further we go down. So the more levels of localization. So I stopped doing it this way. What I started to observe with clients is, if we get the company OKRs, great, and we have an excellent single level of localization into the functions. Then we've got our company level OKRs are our shared responsibility. They're highly cross-functional, they're broad, so anyone in the organization can look up and see themselves in a key result, an objective, or a theme with that OKR. And then we have the functional layer at level 2, where each of the functions does their assessment of what their OKRs are for their group. If we do that excellently at the company level and a functional level of localization, I don't see much benefit from highly structured OKR localization from there. So from there, instead of this top-down multi-layer cascading, the approach that I've been using ever since is a more efficient model for mature OKR localization. So I'm going to talk this through in a zoomed in view, and then we'll zoom it out. So in the model that I work with now, let me see if I can get that thingy to stop showing. Okay, so the model I work with now, we get excellent level 1 or company level OKRs. Best practice, we model for the organization exactly what we mean when we say objective and key result. Then we do an excellent level of localization at L2. And when we're starting out, those are functional. So the company level are highly cross-functional. The functional level L2 OKRs are marketing creates their OKRs in alignment with the company's. Engineering creates their OKRs in alignment with the company's. Each of the major divisions or organizations, functional orgs, create their own localized L2 OKRs. And if we have that, then any team and any organization any team or any working group in the organization can look up and see the most important cross-functional OKRs at the company level and their most important functional or peer teams' most important functional OKRs at that second level. In a fully mature implementation, what we learn there is, gosh, we're missing opportunities to align cross-functionally at level 2. So the drawing here is of the fully mature, where we've got our functional organization localizing, and we've identified that glitch of, gosh, we really need cross-functional alignment at level 2 also. And so that's that kind of mature approach model. LB, I see your comment. Hi, welcome. My brain is total mush anyway. So and also I think LinkedIn is having challenges with lives again. So if you're ever having issues with a LinkedIn live, find me on YouTube. You can find me at my name, Sarah Lobkovich, and the YouTube streams are much more reliable. All right, so we've got our excellent, high quality, high integrity level 1 OKRs that model best practices. We've got our excellent L2 or our functional or cross-functional 1 level of localization OKRs at level 2. And then the way that I think about it from there is, those are the ones where we're going to have the most mathematically connected key results. We're going to have key results that roll down from level 1 to level 2. There are times we have key results roll down from level 2 to level 3, especially in really deep organizations. But it is not as common as OKR software makes you think. So a lot of times what's happening when we go from L2 to L3 is we're getting out of the territory where our teams are actually pursuing key results that are mathematically connected. Our L3 teams often have measurable impacts in the form of key results, but they don't always apportion to the math at L1, L2. So you can think of it as from L1 to L2, we have like almost an attribution opportunity. Make it really simple in our customer support example. So at the company level, we might have We're going to improve customer support by 30%. At the L2 level, customer support might just have a rolled down key result of we're going to improve customer support by 30%. And then at L3, sub-teams of customer support, we might not be able to attribute their percentage of contribution to improvement of the customer support metric, but we can identify, maybe one of the ways that a sub-team can improve their contribution is by improving their timeliness of response. So that's something that can be measured. It supports the upline key result, but it's not math. It's not connected by math. That's the scenario I see most often. And that's why I think of it in the model that we work with. It's usually awesome L1 OKRs, awesome L2 OKRs, and those kind of roll down and they give guidance down to the organization. And then from there, we think bottoms up. Instead of sequentially rolling down through the organization, if we've got that excellence at the top, we've got that math connected at the top, then the rest of the organization, anywhere in the organization, can look up and say, how does my work align to those upline OKRs? Or how does our work align to the upline OKRs? So let's zoom this view out a little bit and look at the full picture there. We're in the home stretch, guys. I'm running out of steam. So the big picture here of the model that I work with is we've got those awesome L1 OKRs, we've got those awesome L2 OKRs, then our teams and our individuals below that, if I zoom out even one further, our teams and our individuals, I think that's getting tough to see, but I'll zoom back in just a second. Our teams and individuals look up and they align up to the organizational OKRs. So our teams can look up and say, okay, of these company OKRs and these functional OKRs, which ones do we support and how? And they can identify their OKRs that way. 7 weeks in a row, I've forgotten to turn off my Alexa reminder that it's time to get ready for my day. I wonder if I'll finally get it next week. All right. So then our individuals can do the exact same thing. So instead of some sort of, yucky, micromanagey alignment or rolling all the way down to the individual, our individuals can look up at anything that's upline above them and say, how does my work align to this? And then we don't force individuals to create objectives and key results, because our individuals might have to, I almost just said a bad word, but they might have to get stuff done. Like if our individuals don't have clarity about what doing is expected of them, then our key results have no chance at the organizational level. So individual goals might be key results. Individual goals are often SMART goals, where we're saying we're going to do something a certain number of times by a date, on a specific time horizon, or might even be milestones that something has to get done by a date. And yes, anything can be turned into a key result. Any outcome can be turned into a key result. Any goal we can write a key result for. I can figure out a way. I'm really creative with measurement. But what's most meaningful to individuals is clarity. We need people to be extremely clear about what's expected of them. And key results are stretch and aspirational, and we are safe to fail on them. And individuals in individual goal setting, and even, a lot of our teams in the organization, they aren't safe to fail on their goals. So we would not call them a key result. We would call them a milestone. We would call them a must achieve. We would call them a commit, but we don't call those key results because we have to be patently safe to fail on our key results for this model to work. So that's the model I work with, where we have mathematically connected key results that roll down from L1 to L2. And then any math that does roll down further, like in sales, there's often a roll down further, then those roll down. But everything else in the organization is thought of as aligning up. So then we don't have to do that really sequential, layer by layer localization or cascading. People can look up at what's above them and ask, how does my work support this? And then write the goals that they need to for their individual goals in alignment with the upline OKRs. And our teams can do the same thing. They can get together, they can look up, they can say, how does our work, or we can even write OKRs for a major project or initiative. How does our work align and support the upline OKRs? So that's the model that I use instead of traditional cascading. Now, let's do this. I don't have any big CTA today. I like I said, it's a rough week over here, guys. But I will say the books are getting closer. Both of them are now in layout. They're out of my hands, so I can't introduce any more delay. My amazing editor, Laura, and my designer, Cyrus, are absolute angels, the best in the world. And they're now in charge. So I'm really excited to make some announcements soon about the release date. If you want more information, this is a sneak. I might cut this out when I post the replay, but I am starting to record the audiobook. So there will be some chances to get a sneak peek of the audiobook. I am also looking for advanced readers who are interested in writing reviews. So if any of that applies to you, find me at youareastrategist.com and join the pre-launch list. And then I've got a whole bunch. The message I shared with my community yesterday is, when the world takes the direction that it did in American politics this week, my instinct is to make my world smaller. So instead of doing lots of big open things like this in big public spaces and trying to reach everyone, my priority turns to focusing on the communities and the collective partners that absolutely matter the most in my world, and working together at a smaller and more community level. So doesn't mean I'm not going to do these big lives. It does mean that the number of free and low cost offers that come out of my business are going way up, because my clients and my prospects are significantly impacted by the turn of this week. My folks are going to have way less budget to deal with, way higher uncertainty, and much less. I know the economy is booming today, but for a lot of us, we don't have the benefit of that. So there are already freebies on my website. You can go to findrc.co. That's the easiest to spell. You can also go to saralobakevich.com if you know my name and can spell it. And Ellie, thank you so much for putting the URLs in the chat there. So the URLs are going in the chat on LinkedIn, and then I'll make sure, yes, Matthew, I will post the Miro images. I will put those in our community. And for folks who are on here, I'm trying to think of how to easily give you public access. That might be tricky. But Matthew, yes, absolutely. And then everyone else, give me a couple days and I'll get a blog post up, and I'll include part of the replay of the video, and I'll include the images. So check back at findrc.co next week for a new blog post, and that'll have the Miro images in it. Okay, so that's what I'm happy to share with you today. We've got lots of freebies. We've got low-cost offers coming. We've got, yeah, Matthew, first rule of the community, don't speak of it. No, we want more awesome people there. Come on. It's not to plug the community, but I've got an amazing small group of founding members there who are just incredible humans. So if you want a little bit more time in community with people who are setting and working to achieve big, bold goals in a shame-free, non-toxic, supportive environment, I'm your girl. That's Unblock Your Inner Strategist. The info about that's on the website also. Don't pay attention to the pricing on the website because, again, in this phase, we're going to have some opportunities for discounted access. So join my mailing list to hear about all that. It's, again, you can do that from the website. You can reach out to me via direct message and contact form. However, like I said, I should be more organized about the call to action today, but I'm just getting through it. I'm just getting through it today, y'all. So lots of offers there to support as we all adjust to the new normal that we're headed into. And I am so grateful for the folks that showed up. Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but just super grateful for those of you who showed up today. I kind of anticipated that I would be alone. And usually I don't mind that at all for a live, but today I just really thank you all for showing up. If you have any questions about the material today or about anything else, we've got a few extra minutes. So drop those into the chat window and I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, if you've got to drop, means the world that you showed up today. Be well, get some rest this weekend, and I look forward to staying in touch or seeing you opt in via one of those freebies and then get closer into the smaller world that I'll be building for the next few years. So thanks all. Any questions, you can drop those in the chat window. Oh, I'm also going to put the Miro. I'll put the Miro back up right now in case anyone wants to take a screenshot of that. That does not have my copyright notice on it. So I'm going to say right now, all material is copyright Sarah Lobkovich, Red Current Collective, all rights reserved, 2024. But if you don't want to wait for me to get this into a blog post, you can take a quick screen cap there and then have that as a takeaway. All right, friends. I love you all. Thank you. I'm so delighted that someone who this was their first session, Brian, that you enjoyed it. Thank you for showing up also. Matthew, I'll see you in the community. Teresa, I'll see you in the community. LB, I'll see you in our community. A plug for someone else. Let's do some plugs for other folks while we're here. LB Brittingham puts together incredible community connection spaces under the handle SC Biz on Threads and Instagram. She's got coming togethers in California. She's working on getting a Seattle group together. So Teresa, yep. And also has an expert circle that I'm a part of. That's one of the things that's keeping me going right now also. Matthew is in my community. He's an amazing consultant who is really phenomenal at, I don't know if you even know this, Matthew, but I learn a lot about how I can be doing things from you. So I appreciate having you in the community. Brian Walsh, I look forward to meeting you since you're new to the team. And then Ellie, thank you so much for being here. I know this is a tough time of day for you. Sports Sage, how are you? It's great to see you on here. And I'm glad you're excited for the books. Teresa is a fractional chief of staff who I would hire tomorrow if I was able to. Highly recommended. She's doing incredible things in a way that is highly values compatible with my business. So if you like my stuff, you're going to love Teresa's. I think that's everybody that I saw chat comments come through. So I do know we have other folks on. Thank you so much, team. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and I'll see you next time.